Emmalou Penrod, and I'm answering some frequently asked questions on relationships. And I'll be talking about both personal and business relationships. So the first question is, we talk about respect, and respect is actually the most important quality in a relationship, even a marriage relationship. A lot of research was done on couples who later divorce, and they found that even more important than physical attraction was this quality of respect. And another research studied would watch a couple, watch their interactions, and be able to accurately predict whether or not they would separate within 5 years. And what he was looking for was any sign of contempt. If one partner rolled their eyes while the other one was talking or constantly interrupted, he found that if there was any contempt in that relationship, it would end. And of course, contempt is the opposite of respect. So why is respect so important in a relationship? Now that's a personal relationship, but in a business relationship, respect between the customer and the business owner, respect between the employer and the employee. Why is it so important? And it is so important because when there is respect, true respect, you would not lie to someone you respected. You wouldn't betray them. You wouldn't do anything to undermine them or tear them down. So, it is possible to love someone but not respect them. But when there is respect, you want what's best for them. You are giving them your best because you respect them. And customers can tell when they're being respected, when they interact with your business. They feel that in the way you treat them. And it's huge. They want to do business when they feel that level of respect. Then when they feel respected, they feel trust. So, and the quote we used before is you need to have the courage to leave the table when respect is no longer being served. And this applies to a business or a personal relationship. If there is no respect, the relationship cannot grow. And remember, one of the keys of a relationship is it's either moving forward or it's moving backwards. It doesn't remain stagnant. And that leads us into another question is, what are the 6 keys to any relationship? And we talked about the first one. Relationships don't remain stagnant. They're either moving forward or they're moving backward. Now, when it comes to friends, some relationships, in fact, it's been stated that every relationship either changes or ends over time. And sometimes that's good. As you're on your personal development journey, you will come to the point where you realize, in order to grow, I need to eliminate anything toxic, any negativity. And you may find that there are some relationships you need to end with friends and sometimes even with family. If you find a relationship is holding you back from reaching your goal, a job is killing your soul, there comes a time when you don't want that relationship to go forward. You're ready for it to go back, to move backward and end. But talking about those relationships that are important to you, that you want to keep, that person in your life that you love and are committed to, the client, your ideal client that you want to keep and move them through your funnel and keep doing business with them for years. In this case, these relationships, you are moving forward. The second key is communication. And the most important part of communication is listen and observe. People communicate with more than just their words. So a big part of communication is listening, being effective in the messages you send in a business setting, or when it's a critical communication, you're going to want to make sure that it was understood, heard and understood. It's like playing catch. You can't just throw the ball and leave. You want to make sure the other person caught it, understands. You can have him toss it back, go back and forth, make sure there's agreement, understanding, everyone knows their role. This makes for a more effective business and a much happier family when there is good communication. Then remembering timing, not only the timing of the relationship itself, but the timing for that other person. There may be sometimes it's not a good time to resolve an important issue. And in the relationship, just as you don't propose on the first date, you don't lay down the offer in the initial 15-minute meeting, you're making sure that your client is learning enough about you, you're building this rapport, building trust. I heard once, just recently, from someone who has been in marketing for over 20 years, highly successful, that she once tried on a presentation to sell her big package. And then as a bonus, she was throwing in a flash drive with some of her free material, some webinars she had done, how-to tips and tricks. And no one was interested in the big offer. They all said, can we just buy that flash drive? And that's when she learned they need to sample me before we move on to the big ticket items. So if you have a business, you're providing freebies, little bits, so people can get to know you, understand what you have to offer, how you can help them, and then you can move it on down to the high ticket items. And same thing, you're making a friend, building a relationship, whether it's just a friendship or a romantic relationship. They need time to get to know you, decide, build trust.
On a scale of 1 to 5, would you give yourself a 5 on achieving what you want in life? If your answer is anything less than a 5, right now, I have something awesome for you. Achieving your goals and living your life at a 5 isn't easy. Most people aren't prepared to focus, stay disciplined, and do the everyday work that is necessary to achieve amazing results. But since you're watching this, then I'm guessing that you're not one of those people. And this is an opportunity that will change your life. Give2Get is a global program that brings together world-class coaching and combines it with empowering masterminds and networking opportunities. We provide 5-star guidance for the price of a cup of coffee a day. To find out more, click on the link in the description of this coaching session.
Someone once facetiously said that he knew immediately that he wanted her, but she wanted to spend enough time together so any of his weirdness would be apparent and she could decide whether or not she could put up with it. That's another interesting way of putting it. But check the timing. Your timing may not be the same as theirs. And of course, if you're moving that relationship forward, you want to be considerate of their timing. And then safety. You need to feel, you want to move that relationship forward. You want to make sure that other person feels that they belong, that they fit, that they're able to ask questions, contribute, and even challenge, especially in a business partnership. And Morrow and Bruce have talked a lot about that on these recordings and how that works for their business partnership. The fifth key for any relationship is conflict versus contention. Conflict is a good thing. It moves your relationship forward because you're understanding each other more deeply. You're clearing the air. You're resolving problems. Conflict is healthy when there is mutual respect, that all-important communication. And contention is the relationship killer. That's when there has to be a winner and a loser. One of us is right and one of us is wrong. And naturally, I'm right and you're wrong. Anytime any issue degenerates into contention, no progress. And you go back to timing. Maybe that's when you need to say, let's take a time out. Let's calm down. Let's approach this at a future time. And then service is the sixth key. The most valuable commodity you have is your time. Many things can be replaced, time cannot. When you are ready to give service, go above and beyond for your customers. I've heard the expression under promise and over deliver. Wow them with the service you provide. And so those are the 6 keys to any relationship. Now, another question is, how does personality affect a relationship? And I'm a Peanuts fan. I love those characters. So I like to use them as an example. A lot of research has been done on personalities. I think since Plato and Hippocrates, scientists have been studying why people do what they do. And they've come up with several theories, assessments. There are many, but they all come down to 4 basic personality types. And it's understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each that is pivotal to that relationship. For example, Lucy is the dominant, let's get things done, motivated by power and money. The leader, the real can really move the project forward. But when she comes in contact with the Charlie Brown, who wants things steady and dependable, is more concerned about people's feelings, there are clashes. So as you understand your personality type and identify the personality type of the person you're working with, you are better able to understand how you can effectively connect. And for example, we have the Snoopy, who is the charmer, charismatic, fun, ready for a party, high energy, very enthusiastic, absolutely brilliant in sales. But then you have the Linus in the research department. He might be the computer programmer. He's designing the software. Snoopy is ready to charge out there. Let's have lots of sales. Let's promise them it can do everything they want it to do. And Linus is appalled. So there needs to be communication. If Linus understands that Snoopy's energy and enthusiasm is a real asset, he is really going to get the word out and bring in more clients, more customers. But Linus has the facts. So Snoopy knows he needs to listen to Linus. Linus, be grateful for that energy and enthusiasm. And again, most people don't fall into just one category. Most of us are a blend of two, maybe even three personality types. But when you understand your strengths according to your personality and your weaknesses, the Lucy can learn to be a little more patient, a little more sensitive to other people. Charlie Brown can learn to be more assertive, stand up for himself, not let people take advantage of him. As you understand these, your interactions with anyone in a personal relationship or a business relationship can progress. People say, well, how do you know what personality type they are? That's a really good question. If you just have a few minutes, if you have a long time to observe them, it's much easier, like in a personal relationship. But you've just made that initial 15-minute call, 15-minute contact. You can tell by how they dress. Snoopies tend to be wearing really trendy things. Lucy will be in formal business attire. Linus doesn't take much time or effort on his personal appearance. And Charlie Brown dresses for comfort. You can tell by key phrases they use. Do they talk about what's the bottom line? How can we get this done? Let's move this forward. Do they almost talk in bullet points? It's probably a Lucy. If they talk numbers and facts and they need a long time to make a decision, it's probably a Linus. If they are so excited and happy and they're maybe bouncing around, they're talking about how awesome something is, how exciting, how fun, it's probably a Snoopy. And Charlie Brown is more interested in making sure that, is this secure? Is this safe? Will everyone be able to get on board with this? So listen to the key phrase they use, look at the way they're dressed and their posture as well. Some Snoopies have trouble holding still. You'll see that in just the first few minutes of meeting them. Another question that comes up quite often in relationships is what's referred to as the love appreciation language. In a personal language, in a family, it might be referring more to a love language. But in business, there is an appreciation language. If you have a team and you want to keep them, then you want to make sure that they feel appreciated. Now, just as if you spoke to them in German and none of them spoke German, they're not going to, communication isn't going to happen. And in the same vein, if you are expressing appreciation to them in a language other than their own, they're not going to feel appreciated. You can praise them and verbally thank them every day, but if what appreciation means to them is a bonus or a raise or more responsibility, they're not going to feel appreciated. So, understanding in a business how they feel appreciated, in a personal relationship, how they feel loved, not just expressing in your language, but in theirs, it makes a huge difference. A lot of times in parent child relationships, you'll hear of this, that the parent is spending money on them, just getting them everything they want. The parent is thinking, I'm loving them, I'm telling them I love them, but maybe that wasn't the child's love language. Maybe the child just wanted to spend time with their parents. And it leads to a lot of frustration because the parents will feel like, well, I'm spending all this money on them. I'm giving them all these gifts. Why aren't they feeling loved? And the child will feel like these gifts don't mean anything. I just want them to spend time with me. And it's really heartbreaking when you see relationships break down because they're not speaking the same love or appreciation forward. This brings us to the next question. How do you move a relationship to the next level? Okay, you've been working with this prospective client. They've bought some of your low ticket items. You know your coaching program could really help them. You want to move them towards that step. Or you're building this friendship. You want to spend more time with them. The most effective ways to move a relationship to the next level is trust. We're assuming respect is already there. Of course, respect is the most important. Then work on trust. Make sure you're doing what you said you would do. Make sure they know you are reliable. They can depend on you. And then all throughout the relationship is the listening and the observing. Maybe if you identify when you bring up the next step and there's some hesitation, some pulling back, start a conversation about that. I can see you're hesitant with that. What are some of your reservations? How do you feel about that? These are ways to help move the relationship forward. And if your primary concern is their welfare and what's best for them, they know that and they feel it. They'll be honest with you and you'll be able to move the relationship forward. Even if they don't buy that high ticket item right now, you're maintaining that relationship until they're ready for it. So, best way to move that relationship forward. Now, there may be those cases when a relationship has broken down for whatever reason. This most commonly happens between parents and teenagers or parents and adult children. And this is, I think, one example of a relationship that you want to maintain, you want to move it forward. Or it could be a valued coworker, employee, business partner. But we're talking about the relationship that you value, you want to maintain, but communication has broken down. What steps can you take? And these are ideas I got from the book, The Anatomy of Peace. And the very first step, they talk in terms of a pyramid. The very foundation of that pyramid is seeing that other person as a human being, not just an obstacle. You're in this business team meeting and you've got one holdout, one person who's generating all this resistance. You need him on his team. You don't want to lose them. Are you viewing them as you're the only thing blocking this from moving forward? That's not going to, that's just going to drive a further wedge. But see them as a human being. All behavior has a purpose, and they have a purpose for their way they are behaving. Maybe it doesn't suit you, but it meets their needs. So bottom rung, first step, understand them, see them as a human being, feel a desire to step in their shoes, walk around in their skin, invite them to explain what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what their concerns are. Start with that. If they still won't talk directly to you, try approaching someone they do trust, not with the idea of ganging up against them, but just to get more information on what they need and how you can serve them, how you can help them feel that, that psychological safety, that they are part of the team, they are needed, they are able to ask questions, to contribute, and to challenge. And from there, move towards, use that just as a brief bridge till you are able to establish communication, expressing your sincere desire to safeguard this relationship, to move it forward, to work and communicate effectively as a team. And gain their, when both people want the relationship to continue, it can be repaired. It's no matter how severely damaged it will be. And again, most often we see this in cases of parents and teenagers, where maybe there hasn't been really any genuine communication going on for years. Trust has been lost. And when the time is taken to rebuild that trust, to show that consistent love and commitment, it can be rebuilt. So if you have any other questions on relationships, I'd be happy to answer them. You can contact me through the Coach's Corner. I think they have a way you can email me. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm a firm believer in what we can accomplish. I'm a Charlie Brown, and I'm a firm believer that with strong, healthy relationships, that's what effective businesses are built on. That's what successful families are built on, are those strong, successful relationships. And as I mentioned this before, you're on a personal development journey. It can be compared to immigrating to a new country. You will need to learn a new language. You will need to form new relationships with people who are where you want to be. And you may have to leave some relationships behind. because they're interfering with where you want to go. So focus on what you want and build those relationships that will get you there. So, no, if there are no other questions,
Thank you,
we're
Emmalou. That was fantastic. Question: What? And again, I get every relationship is different. I get we're all different as well too. What kind of guidance, what kind of criteria, what kind of counsel would you suggest to somebody to determine when when have they done enough to attend? Because I'm like you, I believe every relationship can work. I truly believe, and I truly believe that every relationship can work if you're going to put the onus on yourself to become highly aware of yourself and highly aware of the other person. And so where I'm going with that is, what again criteria counsel would you give somebody as to when has enough been put in that you make that determination to quote unquote terminate the relationship? Because I do believe some people, I'll say, throw in that termination towel too quickly.
yeah,
Some other people almost stay too long to their detriment, and I'll say a greater detriment to the relationship. So where is that? I've done the due diligence, and I realize this is a negative relationship that I do need to, I'll say, terminate and or part ways.
It takes two people to maintain a relationship. And when you have determined that you're the only one putting in the effort, it's time to evaluate it. It's time to, if you find you have been doing all of the giving and the other person has been doing all of the taking, or maybe that honest conversation of where do you want this relationship to go? How much does it mean to you? And you're finding that maybe it means nothing to you. That's one gauge. Another one is, what impact is this relationship having on your personal development journey? Anyone who cares about you wants you to become the best that you can possibly be. And if this relationship is holding you back, if you find that there is more negativity, that maintaining this relationship keeps you from progressing, that's another really red flag. I'm going back to the parent and child because I'm a mom. With adult children, I don't think you ever terminate that relationship. You hold a space for them. You set up healthy boundaries. If say you have an adult child who has become addicted to drugs and they're stealing money from your wallet to buy drugs, they're selling your electronics, you set up healthy boundaries to protect yourself. You can hold space. You can offer, I could help fund a drug treatment program. This is the help I can give you. I cannot give you any other help. You hold that space for them. It's like you leave that door open, here is the criteria. When you are able to work through this addiction or whatever, in whatever way they are violating the boundaries, that the door is open.
Right.
The relationship is still there.
Right.
You continue to love them. You don't talk about them behind their back. You don't complain to all your neighbors about how horrible they are. You still give them that respect. They've made their choices. They're making their choices. You respect that. But you have the boundaries. I don't think again, there needs to be respect. If you're not being respected, again, it goes back to have the courage to leave the table when respect is no longer being served.
Yep. Yep.
That might
Okay.
be the shortest way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. You've talked about this book, The Anatomy of Peace.
Yes.
I want to bring it up for a couple of points and ask you a question. One, obviously very impactful for you.
Yeah.
Two, Mara and I are actually talking about putting what I'll call a book club together for the membership, where we look at a particular book and literally whoever wants to buy that book, read it that month, get together throughout the month or 2 months to read it. It's another idea that we're bringing into the program from that point of view. Obviously, books like this that have that kind of meaning. What was the single biggest impact that this book had on you? Because you've mentioned it again 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it was that the bottom, the foundation of that pyramid, learning to see people as human beings, not as obstacles. It is so easy to slip into anytime, no matter how much you love this person. If they just do something that frustrates you, interferes with what you had intended, it is so easy to slip into labels like that. Jerk, that's so insensitive, and we immediately demote them from human being to object.
Right.
This thing that's in our way.
Sure.
And that was the big eye opener, is being aware of when I'm doing that and immediately switching to
Very good.
this is a human being, not
Very
a
good.
thing.
Thank you, Emmalou. As always, a wonderful session. Thank you so much. We're going to download this in literally the next, I'll say, 35, 40 minutes. We'll get it up on the dashboard, and we'll see you in the next week or so.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks,
Take care.
Emmalou. Bye-bye.